Today's gospel reading is very interesting, and I'm sure if people dwelt upon what our Lord is really saying here, they would have a lot of questions. So basically our Lord is saying, when you have a party, don't invite your friends or your relatives, rather invite the poor, the lame, etc., etc. And also, especially because they cannot repay you. So in other words, you are likely to be re-invited by friends or invited to their parties, their weddings, whatever. And is our Lord saying that we should totally ignore our friends and relatives? And he's not saying that. But he's saying is we should be mindful of the poor, those who are neglected, the blind, the lame, those who have very few friends perhaps, or very few who can provide them with a sumptuous meal. So our Lord is saying, be mindful of the poor, use the resources that you have to help the poor and the unfortunate. And this is reiterated in today's first reading. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility regard others as better than yourselves. And this would include the poor also. Let each of you look not to your own interests, but to the interest of others. Now, it's easy to love those people that we care about, family, relations, friends, so it's easy to invite them. But it's also easy to overlook the poor, the lame, the blind, etc., etc. So our Lord is saying, don't overlook them. Now, sometimes people, they do something nice to someone else, and the person that they did something nice to doesn't thank them. And some people are angry or resentful, I'm never going to do anything for that person because he didn't express his gratitude. Now, there may be different reasons as to why people don't express their gratitude. They should. It's appropriate that they do. Sometimes they forget. Sometimes they're confused who gave them what gift. And there could be many, many reasons. But you see, the reality is when people forget to thank you, when they don't repay you in return, even with a thank you, you should be glad about that, because your reward will be in heaven. And this is part of what our Lord is saying. So he's saying, when you do good to the poor, they can't repay you. When you throw a party for the poor, they're not going to be able to throw a party for you and kind of repay you in kind. So when you do good out of the goodness of your heart, God will repay you. God will reward you. So if we have an earthly reward, we're going to be deprived of a certain amount of heavenly reward. Not totally. But what our Lord is saying is that the more we give without expecting anything in return, the more we will receive as a heavenly reward. And this is something that should really appeal to us. This is something that we should really strive for. And very often it's kind of like we have it mixed up. Our priorities are mixed up. We tend to give priority to our family and our friends, and okay, if we have some extra, we'll give to the poor. And basically our Lord is saying, no, give priority, give preference to the poor, and then, yes, do something for family and friends also, but try to see the importance of the poor in your life. Try to see them not just as your equal, but as those who may be superior to you. And people might say, oh, well, those poor people, they're sinners and they don't even have faith in God. That may be true, but, St. Teresa of Avila, in her humility, she says, well, God gave me so many graces. And if God had given those graces to someone else, that person probably would have made better use of them. So if you are a better person than someone else, that may be because God gave you more graces. He may not have given as many graces to the poor or people who are, on the streets or whatever. So we need to give them our love. We need to give them our charity. And we should prefer to receive heavenly rewards, heavenly consolations, than earthly ones. Because when we do things for God without expecting anything back, or do good things for the people of God without expecting anything back, then we will grow in virtue, we will grow in goodness, but we will also have heavenly treasures laid up for ourselves. Just a reminder, we have a funeral today at 11 for Lurleen 10. May her soul and the souls of all the faithful departed through the mercy of God rest in peace. Sometimes some of you stay later, just so you know there will be visitation here in the church, so the family will be here. You can pay your condolences at that time if you like.